Professor Philip Kaloki, good morning and welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you, Eric, and Ndu and Muga. I'm so happy to be here today, Spice. This is a popular radio and also television. I think you cover quite across the country, and I'm so delighted to be here with you to come and talk with you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Karibu sana. That is the hot seat, the one that you're occupying. And because you're in Nairobi, and we are in Nairobi, and you want to be the next deputy governor of Nairobi, I expect this one to be quite comfortably hot as we have the conversations.
Thank you. Be running for deputy governor, Nairobi County. My governor is Mr. Igathe, and so I'm be looking forward to also to work with him.
You've done quite a shift, though. Initially, you had, I was in Wote during the devolution conference.
Correct.
And I saw a huge billboard as you enter Wote.
Yes.
Professor Philip Kaloki, governor. Next thing I'm hearing, Philip Kaloki is in Nairobi. What happened?
Actually, yes, and that is good observation as running there as a governor, Makueni County. And moving on very well there. And as we are doing all that, then, with Azimio, La Umoja One Kenya Alliance, and also concerns with the city and some other interests here. Us, we'll be able to, we can work or serve any part of the country. And so through the negotiations that took place with that umbrella, then I'm here. And also we have also quite a number of Kenyans, so campus in Makueni also reside here in this big city, our capital city here, and so all that interest and being asked to come and vie here, then I accepted that challenge, and that is why we are here in our capital city, here in Nairobi.
So is this a wiper journey from Makueni into Nairobi, into negotiations then taking place, and you end up being the running mate for Igathe of Jubilee?
Correct. Actually, within Azimio La Umoja One Kenya Alliance, myself, my party is wiper, and my governor, Mr. Igathe, is Jubilee, and so the wiper now and Jubilee, they're in this gubernatorial together and under that umbrella Azimio.
Okay. It's very interesting that you say this, and we thank you for the candor. What essentially I am hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that in the political sphere of this country, there are certain things that have to be negotiated. The optics that we as lay persons seem to perceive may not be quite. Now, if it's possible, if it isn't, then it isn't. But if it's possible, how did the negotiations play out? I'm asking this because there was a gentleman in ODM called Tim Wanyonyi who had also wanted this same seat.
Correct.
And we have others who also wanted this same seat. So maybe you can educate us. How did the negotiations come up so that it is you who's deputy and not governor and Igathe your deputy? How? Yes.
Here there are political parties,
yes,
and the political leaders in those political parties. And so they will try to balance the interest in this city. We have different communities here. All the Kenyans live here. And that being the case, then, there is a women rep representative who is equivalent to a member of parliament, but across the entire county. So that must be a consideration from a particular community. Then you have another part of the country, Western Kenya. We have Sifuna, also from ODM, and also part of this Azimio to run for senator. Then we have now the governor also to come from Jubilee. So you can see that pattern of negotiation. Then Wiper also being another dominant party in this equation also, producing the deputy governor. So the majority here in this city, it is also Jubilee. It's a popular party here with a lot of followers. And through that negotiations, then they saw it fit to be able to produce the governor.
Okay. I think of Nairobi as a county, and I think of the immense responsibility that the city bears for the country. But then I also look at the immense need that the city has. And then when I see this movement of individuals within parties and coalitions, whereby there's this negotiation taking place, then it almost seems to me as though the needs and the responsibility that Nairobi has then is not being given focus and attention. It is just something that somebody will take and do because of the zoning and negotiation that has taken place at coalition and party level. What happens to these huge needs that Nairobi has when somebody previously had a different idea of what they were going to do? And then because of coalition and party negotiations, it's like, all right, well then you just take this or you have the other thing. Where is the seriousness that the city or the county deserves to have with an individual who is focused on delivering?
Actually, you are saying it very well, and that was the main consideration. To hear the political parties and through those negotiations were mostly guided by those needs, capacity, experience, to be able to get these leaders within those particular parties. If it is ODM, Sifuna, for him to be able to be the Senate nominee, a lot of other considerations within that ODM. There were other aspirants belonging to that ODM. In Wiper, there were others. But through these negotiations, they were looking also the concerns of the city, the capacities of these leaders, and also to be able to bring a team that can deliver for Nairobians. And so it was not just picking an individual. There were other considerations that were at play here. And that's how this team was able to be unveiled. And this is the team that we are working with.
Why do you think you were selected as a running mate? I'm looking at something that was covered in Battleground today and saying the choice of deputy in a governor's race could make or break aspirants, right? Why do you think you were selected for this position? I mean, coming off wanting to be governor in another county, why do you think you were selected then for this? Well,
first of all, I'm grateful to the political parties and the leadership of these parties. My background, I've quite an experience that also I believed was a consideration. Being a member of parliament, first I served in the larger Kibwezi for 5 years. I was able also during that particular time, I was able to undertake various committees in the parliament. I was a member of Speaker's panel. That meant when the speaker was not there, I was one of those Speaker's panel members that were had the opportunity to be able to run the parliament. And also being able to be, I was vice chair, Finance and Trade Committee, and so a lot of experience that I was able to bring, and I'm bringing also to this equation. And also during that particular time, I had the opportunity to initiate a lot of development projects, working with the development partners. We were able to pull a lot of resources to Kibwezi, and also we established a lot of schools. During my term, more than 50 new secondary schools were able to establish in the larger Kibwezi, putting communities together, working with development partners, working with the Constituency Development Fund, were able to do a lot and initiating a lot of projects, including new roads during that particular time. And so all that is an experience which is also coming to this public service. Also after that particular time, I ran for governor in Makueni. Professor Igathe-Kaloki won that particular time, came second. And then His Excellency, the President now, Uhuru Kenyatta, appointed me to be the chair or chairman, Kenya Medical Training College, a position that it was able to be renewed every 3 years. I was able to work there for almost 8 years. And we did quite a lot there, expanding medical training colleges across the country. By that time, the campuses were 28. By the time I left, they moved from 28 to 71 across the country. Now, working with the governors, working with the development partners, working with members of parliament, we were able to pull a lot of resources and mobilize a lot of resources to Kenya Medical Training College. And also the number of students now, we're able to move from 19,000, the number that I found, we're able to move from 19,000 to over 50,000 students in all these campuses, bringing a lot of revenue to Kenya Medical Training College and bringing a lot of capacities for the hospitals through this training of competent health workers. And that's why you are able to see the government, led by His Excellency the President, negotiating with other countries so that these medical students, the surplus now, beyond what we need in Kenya, can be able to go out and work out there. And as a result, that will be able to bring a lot of revenue to this country.
There's a lot of work that was done. Credit where it's due, though. If you see moving from 28 campuses to 71 campuses, we even talked about it here before on the show, that nowadays you go into every county and you will find a KMTC campus. In some counties, you have more than one KMTC campus.
That's correct.
Which is a good thing when you look at developing our healthcare. And when you talk about universal health coverage and all, it's a good thing. Increasing the number of students and those who are graduating is a good thing. Your stint also at KMTC did not end so well, though. There was some blot somewhere. And this is a matter that even went to court, the Labor Relations Court. They attempt to dismiss the then CEO, Professor Michael Kipto, and Professor Michael Kipto went to court and said, you know what, the chairman has been abusing his office. The chairman has irregularly appointed a company secretary, and the chairman has had even an affair with the company secretary. For that reason, there's a campaign that's been launched by Transparency International, TISA, and others that is called the Red Card Campaign. And you're among those that are in the Red Card Campaign. You've been red carded, Professor Igathe-Kaloki, the deputy gubernatorial aspirant for Nairobi County, because of abuse of office as KMTC board chair by irregularly appointing KMTC's company secretary who was unqualified for the position, also failed to declare interest during the appointment of the secretary who had personal relations with you, and the court said that you acted illegally, irrationally, and unreasonably. Therefore, according to this campaign, you failed the integrity test.
Eric, that is just a story. There's nothing like that. One, there is no any company secretary appointed by the chairman. You know how corporations work, state corporations. We have a team of management that they do recruitment, they advertise. Then you have committees in a board, a committee, and all these committees, the chairman is not a member. Remember, I was chairman of a board. I'm not a chief executive officer. And all those processes will take place, and they will be able to go through an intensive recruitment exercise whereby other parties will play, and then recommendations will be done, and a letter of appointment then will be done by the CEO. In all this, Professor Igathe-Kaloki, I'm not involved. And so there was no any declaration of interest, because there was no any interest. And that court you are talking about there, it has nothing to do with the Professor Igathe-Kaloki, because you mentioned Professor Michael Kipto. This is a board matter with the issues that I don't want to go through here. Because Professor Kipto is not sitting here, there were issues that the board felt they needed to dismiss the CEO. And that is not Kaloki. There are issues that took place there. And he went to court after being dismissed and to fight back to be able to be reinstated. That is the court. And all this it has nothing to do with Professor Philip Kaloki as a chair. And when you look at those documents, there was nowhere where there was issues of declaring interest. Was his defense, and you don't see the judge himself mentioning anything to do with that. That was his side of story, that the court did not find any merit to be able to deal with it. These were objective matters, accounts that the CEO was to be able to deal with them. And even if you look at that, the red card, as they are calling it, it has nothing to do with Kaloki himself doing anything, and that I think will be corrected, because it has nothing to do with myself as Kaloki or the former chairman of Kenya Medical Training College.
So the court did not at all deal with some of these allegations that were brought by the former CEO, by the then former CEO at that point. The court did not address the issues that were raised by the CEO?
Did not. Those were the side of the story for Professor Kiptoo to defend himself. Those were just his side. If you look at that, the judgment had nothing to do with myself being partisan on any issue. Remember, chairman of a board. You are dealing with many members there. It's not an issue of Professor Philip Kaloki. This is a board, independent, representing different ministries that sit in that particular board, and this is not a personal issue that you bring to the board.
Do you think there was any merit in raising issues of your personal integrity here?
You know, we are campaigning, and being a campaign period, everybody, and I appreciate, we need also leaders that they can be able to undertake a public service. And so, but also the only thing they are doing is to be able to bring things that they are out of this world without looking deeper on those particular issues.
Are they really out of this world? Sorry, I have to, it's important because we are talking about being a deputy governor of the capital city of Nairobi, the biggest income generating county in the country.
Correct.
The capital of the country. Are these small matters though? Was there an issue of you having a relationship with an employee of KMTC?
There's no relationship. It's not there.
Okay.
It has been looked. There is nothing. Here, this is what you call allegations, which are not anything to do with myself. These are the issues that were brought as a result of somebody else who had some difficulties and some challenges at work, and that was his defense that we're able to bring up.
All right. City.
One of the things about being in politics, you then move from being a private citizen to a property of the public. And sometimes they will turn your life inside out. Any allegation, anything that has ever been said, not proven, just spoken about you, will come into the open. And I dare say, if you actually do get into that seat, it won't get better, it'll get worse. Because now, there'll be people who have all manner of things that they want to say and the things that they feel, and they'll go into history. But let's push that aside. What is this one thing that the Igathe, Professor Kaloki duo purpose to do for this city that hasn't been done before? We've had 2 governors. 3. Is it 2.5?
4. Nairobi has had 4 governors swearing oath of office.
That's what I'm. I'm not good at maths. Me, I stopped at 2.5. I should have added 1.5 more to make it 4. What is this thing that you will want to set in motion that when we look at this pair, we'll be saying, yes, Nairobi City County has a hope. We can see this city turning around to being what we've always thought was its full potential, and what we hope will continue being so.
Muga, let me tell you, the reason why we'll be different. If you look at Mr. Polycarp Igathe and you look at Kaloki, the experience that we are bringing to this, our backgrounds I've lived outside this country. I've worked in the US. Mr. Polycarp Igathe likewise has done that, has been able to lead serious institutions in this country, private companies in this country. We are looking to reform the city as it is. We will be different because even the way we are getting our manifesto, the things that the people are telling us, we are going to get it directly to the people. We are moving there. We are trying to talk to borders, and they are telling us this is the challenges that taxis people. This is our issues that we are facing. For example, once we pick people from this particular area and we go to the CBD, there is not even a place to drop off our people. We are being harassed by the city security people, askaris there. So we are facing challenges. When you go to these communities, we're finding actual problems facing the people. Sewage issues, drainage, we can see it. We can see also what goes on. We can see the garbage that's supposed to be collected, and then we are finding also challenges. This is supposed to be cleaned up. It's not being cleaned up. Because we are there, we can be able to see it. So if there's any difference we'll be able to bring, the team coming in, it is because we are in touch with the ground. So the policies we'll be able to make at the City Hall will be based on the reality on the ground. At the same time also, we want to be able to reform the city by making sure we at least not only going back to where we used to be, a beautiful city and the sun, green. We want to not only returning that, but we want to build a world-class capital city here, whereby we can be able to attract more investments to be able to come to this country. So we are looking the entire county, and this entire county, we want really to initiate people-driven programs to be able to benefit the people.
Let's take a break.
Sure.
It's 8:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Professor Igathe-Kaloki, who is Polycarp Igathe's running mate for the Nairobi gubernatorial race, is in the Situation Room with us. We'll also be asking about what they've been doing. You know, wanapikia watu ugali, wanafungua gates, all those things. The Igathe campaign. We are talking about what it takes to run Nairobi and what Professor Kaloki brings into this particular race.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's Eric Latif Nduoko CT Muga and our guest, Professor Igathe-Kaloki, who is Polycarp Igathe's running mate for the Nairobi gubernatorial race. Prof, just looking at the pair of you, Polycarp Igathe and yourself, you have a bit more experience in political campaigning than Polycarp. Polycarp was elected as the deputy governor for the first time that he joined politics, elective politics, in 2017. You have been a member of parliament. You have contested the Makueni gubernatorial race. You have been in the political campaigns. So you've got a bit more experience than him. If we look at the conversation that the two, Polycarp and Mike Sonko, were having in 2017, was Mike Sonko was a man who knew the politics and the ground, could listen to the ground very well. And Polycarp was this man who's come from the corporate world. He knows how to run business. He knows how to negotiate. He knows how to get things moving. And so the conversation then was, we have a politician and we've got a technocrat coming into office. This time we could say similar kind of thing. You know, we've got a politician in Professor Kaloki. We've got the technocrat in Polycarp Igathe. Is that how you're hoping to run this campaign and even run the government? As the one person who understands the ground, and then Polycarp, the man who understands how to get things done?
Well, I think both of us have different backgrounds, but all together we'll be able to bring all these experiences together. And there's also, I'm also a corporate person, being able to have that experience, public service, I do. I've also worked in a private university in the US, so I also bring that private perspective into it. But we can say for Polycarp Igathe, with this experience, there's a lot of backgrounds and business undertaking in the city. And also you are dealing with this being the capital city. I actually want to say Polycarp Igathe will be able to bring a lot of experience in that particular area, being able to run or being in the top management of serious corporate entities in this country. So that exposure, he worked with a lot of business people in this city, and this being a capital city, our main city, and also understanding a lot of gross domestic product. Our industries are here, and industrial parks, and also wild bodies also located in this city. We are going to have a governor who understands, who can relate with these corporate entities, with these international bodies located in our country and in this city. And so we are going to tap a lot of untold experience from Polycarp Igathe. So him being the governor, I can assure you this city is in good hands. And myself being there as a deputy governor, we'll be able to work together and also bring that public service into it, and we should get a good pair to be able to move a lot of service delivery to our people here in Nairobi.
Okay. If I go back to some of the things you said that would happen, I mean, talking about border operators, talking about the state of garbage in the city, etc., etc. Why do you reckon these things were not done before in this city, even at some point with one Polycarp Igathe as a deputy governor?
Actually, Polycarp Igathe, we cannot say he did not do it. Polycarp Igathe was there for less than 6 months. And during that particular time, I think you know the story. The chemistry, the working together wasn't there. For whatever reasons was there, they did not work together. So it was not a deputy governor for 5 years.
Okay.
And so whatever happened, we cannot bring it up and load it up on Polycarp Igathe. Secondly, also, let's also appreciate the fact this is a city that it has a lot of entities working here. Yes, over time, we want a clean city, and every person talks about that. But do we get time to go there and see whether the garbage has been collected? It needs personal interventions. It needs somebody really to leave the office, to go there and to try to see how the people are living out there. And that's exactly what myself and Polycarp Igathe we are doing. We are moving to these particular parts of the areas. We are finding ECDs, early child schools for parents in many of the slum areas. They are lacking. And the parents there, they are really suffering on where to take their kids. So ECDs will be able to establish them. It is in our plan to be able to assist these mothers and the kids. So we have these issues that when we go there, we are finding like buckets. You find a lot of harassment. People are trying to make a decent living. They want to sell their wares out there. But the problem is there are no markets. That being the responsibility of the city hall, led by the governor, the deputy governor working there. They should be able to put a budgetary allocations to be able to deal with these matters, to establish decent markets, so that we can also put our skills up and also to improve the city. So there's a lot to be able to do. So the connection is to move out from the city hall. You go where the arena is to be able to establish that and to be able to come and do those particular processes. And also you supervise by going out.
Professor, I don't doubt your intentions. I don't doubt the conviction and the zeal you have. I don't even doubt that you and one Mr. Polycarp Igathe have the ability, have the technical know-how to do what requires doing. What I want to know is the heart of the matter in the city of Nairobi is not what needs to be done, but how you overcome what we refer to as cartels. Because everything we hear about Nairobi is the cartels who control the city. Everything that would otherwise make this city a beautiful city, whether it works or doesn't work, is determined by these faceless group of people we refer to as the cartels. How do you plan to manage and deal with this group? Because they're in existence. It's not a phantom concept. It's a reality of this city.
Well, you can talk about a cartel, but the reality is that could also be an amorphous issue there. Because if, for example, garbage is not collected, there is a dealer, there is a contractor supposed to pick the garbage, and you go there, it's not picked. If you don't supervise, then you'll be able to pay that contractor or that service provider for not services that are being delivered. Then that is what we're talking about. So if you let that to continue, then it becomes cartels dominating the garbage collection. Cartels are dealing with the water because we are not going there to see whether the water is reaching to where the people are and moving out there and working and training and working with these service providers. If you fail to do that, then over time you begin complaining for your deficiencies that you're not being able to work, and then you begin to say cartels. We cannot work, we cannot provide water, we can't provide services to the city because of cartels.
So are we saying, if I may interject, that right now, that there don't exist groups of people that are controlling the operations of certain things in this city and then are getting money for it? Are we saying they don't exist?
They're there, but they're not doing what they're supposed to be able to do.
Oh, no, we understand that. But the question is, then how will we get rid of them in order to run this city properly?
It is because of it's a leadership issue. If you go there and supervise, if today you do not come to the shore, if you are not here, then my friend Eric doesn't show up the following day. You are being paid. You are not doing what you are supposed to be able to do. Then we come and say in KTN, there are cartels. You need to go there and supervise and pay for services that are being delivered so that you deal with it. And if it is a particular person, you need to train them to be able to take their responsibilities a little bit serious. At the same time, that's the only way you can deal with that. And I say in quotation, that cartel. You make sure they do the services. If you get a contract, you deliver. They need to establish mechanisms on how to monitor that service delivery to make sure the work is being done.
So it's impunity that breeds cartels.
That's what it is. And you leave it alone, you don't supervise, you pay for claims for work that not being done, and you continue that way, then you come and complain about cartels. These are people, these are Nairobians. And once you work with them, they want to do a decent work and they want to be paid for it.
Prof, do you think it's the right thing to do for the city county of Nairobi to be contracting out many of these jobs? Garbage collection, contracted. Water provision, in some cases, contracted. Yet the county government owns the Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company. Very many of these services are being subcontracted. Is this the right way to go?
Actually, if you look at globally, the trend, if you go to the city of Dallas at the moment, I was there about 2 weeks ago, and I checked on this particular matter and checked who is collecting the garbage in the city of Dallas, and I found it's a private contractor. But you know what? There are schedules on how they're collecting in the homes, in where people are staying, in the city. And I took time to understand this. That is being managed by a private contractor. But do they do the work? Yes. Is the city clean? Yes. And also you go to the rivers. There's a river there actually passing through the city of Dallas. That river is clean. What is happening? Nobody is throwing trash there or anything that coming from industries and factories. Industrial waste. It's a clean city. You go to different other parts. There's a river there in San Antonio. I was able to have an opportunity to be there. It's a clean river. And so what is causing this? There are rules, there are bylaws, people are following it, they are being enforced, and over time, then you develop that culture. And that is what we want to do for our rivers here also in Nairobi. And also once we do those things, we supervise, we borrow from best practices, and we are serious. We retrain our people who are working there in the city, have a lot of experience. Once they know there's a change, people are going to adopt to the top leadership.
Okay. So what I hear you saying is the problem is actually not even the contractors. The problem is the supervision.
Exactly.
Which means that the problem is at City Hall.
It's the City Hall.
The people who work in City Hall.
And the top leadership.
How do you change that culture?
That is the culture we are bringing. And culture, of course, you bring it slowly. Training, conversation, exposures over time. It may take 3 years for us to be able to move in the right direction. But you start the right way to show we are going to reform this, and that must also come from our staff. The staff are experienced. They have many years of experience. They want to do a good work, but once they lack from the top leadership experience, then they are going to let it go. But if you work with them, they need to know the need of doing this. You don't need to threaten them. You need to work with them, and they'll be able to do and bring the changes that are needed. And so what we are saying here, we'll be able to work with our staff, and we'll be able to move with that direction. The direction will be clear. There will be targets. There will be delivery along the way. And also we'll be able to balance what services need to be contracted out, which ones need to be done by our officers within the city.
What do you think about social contracts or performance contracts then for, the county bosses and their deputies to say, this is what you said you would do. And after some time, we hold you to account and say, well, this happened or this didn't happen, and then we score you on that, which could essentially determine whether you continue in this position or then, you don't. Exactly. What do you think about that?
I embrace that. I agree to it. At the Kenya Medical Training College, as a board chair, each year we had a performance contract. We had specific targets for the chief executive officer, targets for the board, targets for various managers, and different all the way to campuses and to the managers. So the targets will make the organization to move in the same direction. You'll be able to ensure deliveries are being implemented and achieved along the way. And the targets that you have set as a board, then the organization will be able to move on as an entity. Likewise, in the city of Nairobi, we'll be able, if this is not done, and I believe it's not being implemented or it's not worked out, we'll be able to establish those particular targets, performance contracts for the staff, so that those deliveries will be there. And once this is done and supervised well, and the reviews are done there, and the rewards will be given at the end of the year, you'll be able to see a major shift of our attitudes, and the people will be able to appreciate their work.
One of the issues that has been, a problem for Nairobi, not one, but I'll talk about three. One is garbage. That is waste management. Second is water provision. And third is sanitation. And I'm separating water and sanitation deliberately here. Let's talk about water and sanitation. With a growing population in Nairobi, there is increased pressure on water availability. With a growing population in Nairobi, and we are seeing the increase in the number of low-income neighborhoods propping up, there's an issue with sanitation. What plans do you have for that?
Well, this is and I'm glad you're saying it, this is an area that we'll be able to look at it. We've been able to move around the city, and we have noticed the same. You see, the city has grown. It's really grown from the time the infrastructure was able to be put up. We have really moved up. And so there's another project coming in, and I appreciate the government is supporting that project to be able to increase additional water supply, but that is not enough. We are going to take this seriously for the first time, and we'll be able to work with the development partners, also looking at our own revenue to be able to move in that particular direction to make sure we have sufficiency of water supply in the city. If you go to Karen, the issues is water. If you go to Kagemi, you find the same issues will be there. If you go to the Eastlands, talking about Embakasi and the 5 wards there, everybody talks about water. We were in Mathare yesterday, and the people are talking about water. Once you get there, can you ensure we get water here? We don't get water. And people are spending a lot of their income towards providing water for their domestic use. So what I can assure you here, Polycarp, Igathe-Kaloki, once we come to this city, we'll ensure we work with all the partners to ensure we deal with this problem. We'll be able to deal with our engineers just to make sure we have a permanent solution to deal with this water and sanitation at the same time.
Prof,
if you look,
Prof, we've had this before. So how exactly are you going to do it? You're talking about those areas. You're talking about pipeline and Embakasi and the rest. There is no pipe for water.
Okay.
So what are you going to do?
Let me tell you. First, look at our revenue. We looked at the revenue collection. We are collecting like a quarter of the revenue that is being collected in this city.
Are you receiving a quarter of what is collected?
What is supposed to be collected, Muga,
Yes.
you're finding just a quarter of it.
is what is tabulated and recorded as having been
and
collected.
recorded for be able to take care of the 3 quarters and the use. And that means then the services, they'll be deficient. We are going to find every service then we cannot deliver to the level that it is supposed to be required. And so here, one, we have to up our game in revenue collection. Look at the land rates. They're not being collected, and very little of it is being collected. You go globally, you're finding this is the engine, this is what moves.
Professor Kaloki,
Yes.
there's something I wanted just to clarification.
Yes.
Is it that it's not being collected, or is it's being collected but it's not remitted?
Well, first, I just want to talk about the collection part of
All
it.
right, carry on.
Which
with the
is
collection
clear.
part.
You can document. There are facts out there. You are going to find the collection. There is no a serious mechanism. Not only this government, which is the county government, even the past one, which is Kedero's during that particular time, Kedero tried a little bit. He was able to really give some exemptions, and he was able to encourage that. But there was a lot that was still lacking over time. And so we are going to look this a little bit seriously, and the people are willing. We went to a place in Eastlands, and we were there. And once you are here, you are getting the story that we are willing to pay land rates. This is Meango. They're saying, you know what, we are lacking title deeds. And and you're finding Utawala area, Meango, these are 2 wards there, a lot of population there. None of these dwellers, and they have houses, none of them are paying land rates. This is the money to assist in building and reforming our city. So we start with revenue collection. Even before we talk about development partners, we look at our internally generated incomes that we can be able to tap in. And once we look at that, a lot of things will be able to do.
But Professor, what is the potential of Nairobi County? Yes, collection, excellent. But if you don't work on the collection against what you know the potential is and what is anticipated, you may be collecting billions, but again, it'll just be a fraction of what you could collect. And I'm still going back. I'm a dog with a bone on this one. Is it what is collected, or is it what is remitted?
I want to say what you can know for sure, it is what is not being collected. And once you collect that, the mechanism, the procedures of remittance to make sure that money is banked, that is another issue. That you need better procedures to make sure whatever is being collected is being banked, to make sure there is some prudence.
Do we know what the potential, the revenue potential of Nairobi County actually
you
is?
can collect 100 million per day, 100 million per day, but you are collecting here less than 10 at the moment. We are getting the story, you can collect 8 million, it goes to 12. During the time of Clark, calling Kisia, you're hearing the story, you could collect almost 40 million. There's some time we're getting the story, it used to be 50 million. It has now come to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 million per day. Are you seeing that? And you see the growth? You see the growth of the city? You see a lot of population has moved here. A lot of businesses, industries have moved here. And home owners has increased. So we are likely, the estimated figure, Muga, is over 100 million. We can be able to collect. And once you collect that, Eric, I can assure you, then Polycarp Igathe and Kaloki will be able to ensure that services are delivered, and this will be a city where many people will be willing to come, live here, and do business. And it will be a great city.
So is that one thing that you want to be judged on? Increased revenue collection, own source revenue for Nairobi. If you're able to collect 100 million, if you hit 80% of that, that's 80 million shillings per day, then you can say, all right, Igathe-Kaloki are working. If you're at 50, we say, Kisia did that 10 years ago.
Exactly. Yes, Eric, that is one mark that will be judged on, because we'll be able to come with the platforms to make sure we take care of the revenue collection and the prudence and management of that particular revenue. First of all, to make sure it reaches the bank, and also make sure utilization of the same will be good for the people.
Okay, Prof, well, thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you for coming to tell us about what you plan to do should you get elected by the people of Nairobi. In 30 seconds.
In that second, what I can say, Eric, and
Yes.
the team here is we are a team that we have the energy, we have the vision to be able to reform this city. And we're asking the people of this beautiful city of Nairobi and our county to vote for Polycarp Igathe and Philip Kaloki. Actually, the ticket is Igathe-Kaloki ticket, and we promise better services and better lifestyles and a capital city that can attract investments.
Asante.